Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So a couple of weeks ago I shared my current wish list of designer handbags so that you guys could actually help me choosing the right one for me. I will link it down below or insert a link somewhere in here if you're interested in that as well. I also thought it might be interesting to share with you my thoughts on a couple of brands or specific bags that I personally would not buy. So here we go. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name is Evelyn. My channel is all about luxury shopping, fashion in a knowledgeable, smart and mindful way. I keep it quite real here on this small channel. And also, if you like what you see today, consider following me on Instagram as well, because there I share my shopping sprees and I just give you a couple of, fashion updates here and there on a more daily basis. So without further ado, let's get started. So of course, no shade or tea on anyone who owns bags from these brands or these specific designs. Of course, this is all at the end a question of taste and of personal preferences. However, I think that the bags that I'm going to mention are for me either not my personal taste, or I think that they are not the smartest choice when it comes to, investing in a designer high-end bag. So let's start with Chloé. Chloé is such a beautiful brand. I love their ready-to-wear. I actually used to love the brand more under their old creative director. Ever since they changed the creative direction of the fashion house, I just find myself liking the ready-to-wear as well as the bags less and less, honestly. I think that Chloé has a couple of brilliant, beautiful and very iconic bags, such as the Marcy bag. And even though the Marcy is a very classic bag that many, especially younger people, feel like don't really consider, but I think that this one is the only bag by Chloé that I would actually buy. And considering the rest, especially the newer designs, I think that Chloé is kind of downgrading into becoming a contemporary bag brand, whereas it's actually one of the very iconic high-end fashion houses. But I think their bags do not resemble that anymore. Chloé bags always were very boho-ish and more casual, and they also were very embellished, the whole jewelry kind of aspect is quite the big thing with Chloé bags, and it's something that is always within their brand and within their designs. However, with the newer models, I don't really feel it. And I just don't think that they, hold up to what the brand actually stands for. The next type of bag or the next brand that I would personally not buy bags from is Versace. So I know that Versace kind of has a big comeback these days with their iconic redesign of the jungle dress that was presented by J.Lo last September and all those kinds of things. However, I think I just don't like Versace. I like the idea that Donatella Versace has, but I don't particularly like how they execute it. And the bags for me are just too embellished, they are too playful, they are too 90s, with the Medusa head all over them. To me, they just don't look like a high-end bag. Honestly, they're just not my taste. If you are someone who is totally into that particular style, of course, that's a brilliant bag for you. But if you are someone who has more of a classic or casual style and you just want to create a nice collection of high-end handbags because you love high-end handbags, I would not go for Versace. I think that they now start to create hypes around their shows to, appear more relevant. However, if I then take a look at the stores, at the actual collections, at the actual products, to me, they're not there yet. The next high-end brand that I actually do avoid when it comes to bags is Valentino. So Valentino is, again, actually like Chloé, one of those brands that I just don't like how they developed during the past years. So I know that many people don't like Maria Grazia Chiuri, but she used to be the former design head of Valentino, and I honestly loved her designs more than I love the new ones. I don't particularly like the new V logo that they throw on all of their designs. I mean, obviously the whole logo mania trend is still out there, it's still going strong, even though it will come to an end eventually. However, of course, it's still out there, and I just, I did see a lot of the V belts, the V sandals last summer, and the bags do also now come with these designs. But honestly, I have to admit, as someone who has the chance to hold quite a couple of designer handbags in her hands on a frequent basis, I think that the quality is not the best. The way that they are shaped, that they are cut, that they are finished, the way that especially the monochrome or the matte one-toned logos are made. Unless you are someone who just can spend a lot of money on high-end designer handbags and it doesn't really matter to you and you just want something, you know, fresh and young and cool and current, unless you are someone like that, I would definitely not encourage you to buy a Valentino handbag at this point. If I would have to buy a bag like within this price range and within this particular like aesthetic, I would much rather go for a YSL bag, like for the Kate, for example. I think that this is the much more iconic and timeless version, and they are just, you know, this type of bag that you will probably wear for a very long time. The next bag that I would not buy at this point is basically anything from the Gucci Maman line. So I think that in general, Gucci had like the big... Hey! So I think we all know at this point that Gucci experienced like the biggest hype of the decade basically, and all of their designs were like very popular, especially the new Maman bags and the GG logo. The thing with the Maman bags is I think the same problem that Gucci is now facing with all of their designs. It's just overdone. I have seen it on young people, on old people, on, you know, tacky people. I have seen this bag on everyone and everywhere, and that is just like one of these cases where kind of have a high-end item, but because of the fact that it has been worn in such a commercial way by so many people, it's just not very desirable anymore, even though of course it's still super expensive. But yeah, the same goes for the Gucci belts, you know. If you still are someone who loves to wear your Gucci belt and your Gucci Maman, that's absolutely fine. I actually find that the bags are designed beautifully. I very much love the velvet versions of the Gucci Maman, but it's just something that is a little overdone. I certainly have seen it too many times. And also the GG with the brushed like vintage gold is again, I think, a certain type of hardware that also is very trendy and not very timeless. And it's just not something that you most likely will love for like your whole life, you know what I mean? The next brand that is on my list, I will probably also get a lot of controversial comments for, but it's Louis Vuitton, especially the classic Louis Vuitton entry-level monogram bags such as the Neverfull or the Speedy. So I know. These bags are very iconic, they are very timeless, and they are extremely popular. Even my mom, she has a Louis Vuitton Speedy, and she also actually wants to get herself a Louis Vuitton Neverfull at this point because it's just so versatile and practical and etc. And I totally agree with all of that. There is like nothing wrong with these bags when it comes to, you know, being a good investment piece. They constantly raise the prices for these bags. And they are definitely also still kind of on the entry level of, you know, luxury goods when it comes to handbags. And the quality is great. But I think that for the same price or for a fraction more, you will just get something better, something that you might like for a longer time, something that is maybe a little bit more modern and more different and still just as timeless and as practical. For example, you know, I am a huge advocate of the Celine Cabas tote. I made a whole video on this bag. I will insert a link somewhere here. I think the jump from a Neverfull to a Celine Cabas is price-wise not that high anymore these days, but a Celine Cabas is a full leather bag. It holds up its shape greatly. It just instantly looks more sophisticated and more luxurious because of the fact that it's black and that it's made of leather, and I just think that it's the better bag, you know. And it's also not as seen, it's not as overdone as a Neverfull is. So it is quite easy, especially if you are someone who's just starting out, to think of a Louis Vuitton Neverfull or a Louis Vuitton Speedy if you want to buy your very first designer handbag, for example, or if you are a very classic person. But I actually think it's worth looking into other brands that still have brilliant pieces that I think are the better purchase instead of just heading down the Louis Vuitton road. Unless, of course, you are someone who loves Louis Vuitton. Please don't hate me for this. This is just my personal opinion. Another handbag that I would definitely never buy is the Bulgari, I think it's called the Serpentine bag or something. It's the bag with the snake head on it. I think that Bulgari tries to market this bag like with influencers to, you know, get their feet into the handbag market, but I mean, they're just not. They just don't have that heritage. Bulgari is a jewelry brand, and that is what they are for me, you know. I would also never buy myself a Cartier bag, even though Cartier as a jewelry brand is something that I very much like and appreciate. However, I would just not buy a bag from them. It's like buying a Porsche handbag. For me, it's just something like a weird license franchise idea back from the 90s for these brands to try to introduce handbags. And I think it's just not authentic, and I think especially for the price point, there are many more bags from very iconic brands such as Louis Vuitton, Chanel, or let's say Dior, that are the better investment piece than these brands. That's just like a quick summary for in this particular category. And last but not least, the new Celine. If you have been one of my older followers, I already talked about how much I do not like the new Celine various times. And yes, I was part of those people who very much hated on the new Celine. And I will never like it. It's just a question of principle, honestly, because I feel like with the new Celine, one of my favorite brands was kind of taken away from me and stolen from me. And that is why I basically do not agree with anything that the new Celine does. But besides my personal, like, moral point of view on the new Celine, I also do not like their designs at all. If you take a look at the new monogram bags with like the big Celine on them, I think that this design approach is very, very uncreative, and you can actually get exactly the same bags on the vintage market for a fraction of the price. Like, they didn't even bother to revamp these bags in a more luxurious or more current or more modern way. They just basically put a stamp with the white Celine logo on it and they think they're good to go. And also the old like CC logo. I know that apparently this is like a old vintage logo that they use from the 60s. However, I think that they again could have just done more with this old logo, you know? They just could have put more effort to revamping these designs, and I think that this logo makes the bags look like they were literally from the 60s, and I just don't really like that approach. And also, of course, because they are very new, they are very much not iconic. I think I don't really have to add more to that specific brand. It's just something they probably can do whatever they want. I will not like it. So that is it for today's video. I hope that you found it somewhat, you know, informative and just interesting in terms of sharing opinions. There are always handbags that one likes and another one doesn't like. That's why we have this huge market and variety of designer houses where everyone can choose from individually however we like and wish to. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.